Your heart is pounding, your palms are sweating. You haven't even opened the message yet. Somewhere in your chest, an alarm is going off, and you don't know why. You tell yourself to calm down. It doesn't work. Your body is convinced something terrible is about to happen, even though you're sitting in a quiet room, doing nothing more dangerous than checking your phone. It feels broken. It feels like a glitch in your wiring. But the real answer is far stranger. That racing heart isn't a malfunction. It's a survival tool, and it's tens of thousands of years old. Right now in your skull, there's a small almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. It doesn't read your emails. It doesn't know what a deadline is. It only knows one thing: threat or no threat. And it makes that call in milliseconds, long before the thinking part of your brain even wakes up. For most of human history, that speed saved lives. Picture a hunter-gatherer 60,000 years ago walking through tall grass. A shape moves, maybe it's wind, maybe it's a leopard. There's no time to reason it out. The amygdala doesn't wait for proof. It fires first, and it fires hard, flooding the body with adrenaline and cortisol, tightening the muscles, sharpening the senses, preparing the legs to run or the arms to fight in a fraction of a second. Get it wrong when there's no leopard, and you've wasted a little energy jumping at nothing. Get it wrong the other way, and you're dead. So, which mistake do you think evolution favored? The evolutionary psychiatrist Randolph Nesse has a name for this. He calls it the smoke detector principle. A smoke detector that never goes off by mistake is a smoke detector that eventually fails to warn you about a real fire. So, it's built to be oversensitive, to shriek at burnt toast, because 100 false alarms are still cheaper than one missed fire. Your anxiety works the same way. It isn't calibrated for accuracy, it's calibrated for survival, and those are very different goals. That's why your body reacts to a tense email with the same chemical storm it would use for an actual predator. The wiring doesn't know the difference. It was never built to know the difference. It was shaped over hundreds of thousands of years to assume the worst and prepare the body instantly because in the environment that built it, hesitation could kill you. But here's where it gets stranger. For almost all of human history, you didn't just fear animals, you feared your own group. Being cast out of the tribe wasn't just embarrassing, it was a death sentence. No group meant no shared food, no protection at night, no one to help you when you got sick or hurt. Alone on the savannah, a human being was slow, weak, and easy prey. So the brain evolved a second alarm just as loud as the one for lions. This one didn't watch for claws and teeth. It watched for something quieter: disapproval, a cold glance, a joke you weren't part of, silence when you expected laughter. Your ancestors who felt a jolt of anxiety at the first sign of social rejection were the ones who fixed the relationship, apologized, adjusted their behavior, and stayed inside the safety of the group. The ones who didn't feel that jolt sometimes didn't notice they were being pushed out until it was too late. That's why a single unanswered text message can make your chest tighten the same way a rustling bush once did. Your brain isn't overreacting to modern life. It's reacting exactly the way it was built to react. The problem is that the world changed so fast and the wiring never got the update. The Stanford neuroscientist Robert Sapolsky spent decades studying this exact mismatch. He liked to point out that a zebra's stress response turns on the instant a lion appears and turns off the instant the lion is gone. The zebra doesn't lie awake worrying about next week's lion. It can't. Its stress system is built for short, sharp, physical emergencies, not for anything longer. Human beings are different. We're smart enough to imagine threats that haven't happened yet. We can worry about a conversation 3 days from now. We can replay an argument from 10 years ago and feel our pulse rise as if it were happening right now. We can turn a single glance at a follower count into a slow-burning, day-long alarm that never fully switches off. The zebra's stress system was never designed to run for hours at a time. Neither was yours. But in the modern world, that's exactly what it's asked to do over and over, with no lion in sight and no clear moment when the danger has actually passed. So the alarm just stays on. Notifications trickle in all day, and each one is a small, ambiguous signal, the exact kind your amygdala was built to treat as a possible threat until proven otherwise. Job security isn't guaranteed by a shared campfire anymore. It hangs on quarterly numbers you never see and decisions made in rooms you're never in. Social belonging isn't measured by who shares your fire at night. It's measured in likes, replies, read receipts, and the silence after you hit send. Every one of those triggers the same ancient circuitry that once scanned tall grass for movement. There's also a third response most people forget about, alongside fight and flight: freeze. When a threat feels too big to fight and too fast to outrun, the body sometimes just locks. Muscles tense, breath shortens, thoughts go blank. That frozen, overwhelmed feeling before a hard conversation, or the blank mind in a job interview, isn't weakness. It's an ancient tactic too, the same one that once helped small, slow prey animals go still and unnoticed while danger passed by overhead. Panic attacks make more sense through this same lens. The racing heart, the tight throat, the sudden certainty that you can't breathe, all of it feels like your body is failing catastrophically, but it's actually your body succeeding at an ancient task with terrifying efficiency. Hyperventilation floods the blood with oxygen. A pounding heart pumps that oxygen to the muscles faster. Tunnel vision narrows your focus onto the single thing that might be about to kill you. Every symptom that feels like collapse is really the body's fastest possible version of getting ready to run for its life, fired off in a moment when there is, in fact, nothing to run from at all. There's a number worth knowing here, too. The anthropologist Robin Dunbar spent years studying how large a human social group can realistically get before people stop being able to track who's trustworthy and who isn't. His estimate landed somewhere around 150 people. That's roughly the size of the bands your ancestors actually lived in, ate with, and depended on for survival. 150 faces, voices, and reputations, and nothing more. Now think about how many people can see your name in a single day. A comment section, a group chat, a public post. Your social brain, the same one built to carefully track approval and disapproval within a tribe of 150, is suddenly asked to process judgment from strangers by the thousand, and it has no idea how to file any of it away as unimportant. Even the psychologist Martin Seligman noticed something odd about which fears show up most easily in people. We develop instant, deep phobias of snakes, spiders, heights, enclosed spaces, and public humiliation. We rarely develop the same instinctive terror of the things that actually kill far more people today, like car crashes, processed food, or sitting still for 10 hours a day. Why would that be if fear exists to protect us from what's actually dangerous right now? Because fear isn't tracking today's dangers. It's running on a list written by the ancient past, a list your ancestors paid for in blood, long before cars or sugar or screens ever existed. That's the strange part nobody tells you about anxiety. It isn't a modern disorder bolted awkwardly onto a healthy brain. It's an ancient survival system, still fully functional, still doing exactly its job, just aimed at a world it was never built to interpret. Think about what actually spikes your heart rate most days. It's rarely a lion. It's a delayed reply. A vague message from your boss that just says, "Can we talk?" A number on a screen that used to be higher. A silence in a group chat where you can see that everyone has read your message and no one has answered. None of those things can physically hurt you. But your body doesn't know that. It responds to social and financial uncertainty with the same cortisol, the same tightened chest, the same racing pulse it once reserved for claws and teeth. Because for most of human history, exclusion from the group and starvation were the same slow death. That's why modern anxiety so often has nowhere to go. Your ancestors' fear ended in action. Run, fight, freeze, and then it was over, one way or another. Your fear today often has no action available at all. You can't outrun an inbox. You can't fight a quarterly report. So the alarm rings and rings, with no lion to escape and no safe cave to return to, and the body simply keeps producing the chemistry of an emergency that never resolves. This is what researchers now call an evolutionary mismatch. The hardware hasn't changed in any meaningful way in tens of thousands of years. The environment around it has changed almost completely, and it keeps changing faster every decade. Your ancestors' bodies were tuned to a world of scarce, physical, short-lived dangers. Yours is tuned to the exact same settings, dropped into a world of constant, abstract, never-ending ones. The mismatch isn't a personal failing. It's simple math. The nervous system had 100,000 years to adapt to fire and famine, and less than one lifetime to adapt to smartphones. Understanding that doesn't silence the alarm instantly, but it does change what you're arguing with. You're not broken. You're not weak. You're not failing at being calm the way you feel like everyone else somehow manages. You are walking around with the nervous system of someone who once had to survive lions and starvation and total abandonment by the only group that could keep them alive. That system kept every single one of your ancestors alive long enough to have children, generation after generation, all the way down to you. Every ancestor who felt nothing at the rustle in the grass didn't get the chance to pass that calmness on. You inherited the anxious ones. That's not an accident. That's the whole reason you exist. It never got the memo that the world changed. So tonight, when your heart pounds before you've even opened the message, remember what's actually happening in your chest. It isn't proof that something is wrong with you. It isn't a glitch, and it isn't a flaw to be fixed. It's 60,000 years of survival, still running, still doing its ancient job in a world that no longer looks anything like the one it was built for.